Bomba-dee-da, 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 bomba-dee-da.
Hey,
Trails.
happy trails. Welcome back, everybody. How
We're
about
here.
that, huh? We're back. We're back. Shady's back. Back again. Do-do-do. Say hello, Fred. Hey, and you know what? And we're back post-election, everybody. Who is fired up? The Happy Trails boys are fired up. That's who's freaking fired up. You know what? We're pumped up. I don't know if your person lost. If they did, you're probably not watching the show anyway. But if they did, then maybe you should watch the show because you're going to get some new tips and some things that are going on, hopefully that are going to affect multifamily and some of your investment potential. So I guess with a big win coming off a win like that, it is exciting. Blaine and I were just talking about it, and man, I'll tell you what, I went to bed. Blaine, I told you I didn't tell you this, but I went to bed, was completely unsure. I said a prayer. I went to sleep. Ann woke me up at like 5:30. She started yelling at me, Matt. I was still sleeping because I get up about 6. 5:30, and I was like, what? And I turned over and she goes, I think Trump won. And I went, what? Just totally no way. And not only did he win, everybody, but it was like a big giant red wave of landslide just covered the entire United States. I think.
Well, not only did Trump win, and some people are surprised, some people weren't, and I mean it depends on going back to your point about you waited till 5:30 in the morning and Ann said Trump won. I was with this guy who is all sorts of techie nerdy, and he was into Bitcoin. He's like, dude, you see what Bitcoin's doing? And throughout the hours of the evening of the election, he goes, dude, this is over. Look at what Bitcoin. I'm like, what? The hell's Bitcoin after this? He goes, look at this website, this gambling site or something. He goes, all these techies are gambling and putting money on Trump. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? So he called it earlier in the night. So my confidence was a little higher that Trump was going to pull this through.
Bro, there's people that are a lot smarter than we are. I can just say that. So
it was fun and interesting. We had some nice wine, and I mean, it was just regardless, we're going to have to navigate the path forward. There's good and bad with both. All right.
Yes. There's nothing that's set in stone that's 100% for everybody, but my guy won, so I'm happy. So that's great.
Well, and the other key element of this whole election, which is actually really important, it depends on what Trump wants to put through in his real estate stuff, but is that the House and Senate are both Republican. And so I mean that makes a big difference in the speed of policies and when what's happening and what they can actually do to try to promote new house builds, affordable housing, and just real estate benefits in general, because we all know that's how Trump, one of the main things he does is real estate. So he's going to be friendly to us real estate investors.
Yeah, well, he already proved that when he was president 8 years ago, right? And with the act of bonus depreciation that everybody took such great advantage of for the last few years. Matter of fact, this was the third or the fourth year before they finally cut it off completely, right? It was 60% this year. Am I right?
Yeah, I think it's 40 next year.
40 was next, and then it was supposed to be done had Trump not won. But that's really exciting to know that we've got the House and the Senate. So I do think there's going to be some really cool things coming our way. And if you're a multifamily real estate investor, which, I mean, I hope that anybody that's on here tonight is actually a multifamily real estate investor.
Yeah, they might be. They might be just, I need some entertainment.
Well, if you stumbled onto our podcast and you're wondering, what the F are these guys talking about? Well, it's supposed to be multifamily real estate.
Oh, well, hey, by the way, I'm Dr. Blaine McLaughlin. I'm a dentist in Iowa. Have been for 29 years. And I'm here with my buddy, Matt. Go ahead, Matt, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Matt Bynum. I am practicing wet finger dentist here. And although I say part-time,
you should wear gloves. So it should be wet gloved, maybe.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I wear them. Some, I'm consider myself more part-time than full-time dentistry now.
Nice, nice.
So it's, but still having fun doing that for 29 years, going on 30. And, we started this podcast 2 years ago with the intent of sharing any information that we glean off of the web, off of our educational process, off of our mentors, and any of our deals and things that we come across with you, and hopefully shed a little information to you that makes your life a little bit better and your investment potential even better, so that you can thrive for your family, and you'll be able to spend a little bit more time having to do the fun things rather than the things that you're not enjoying so well in your life, because you wondering the hell happened to my retirement money. So
Yeah.
because I think when that happened to us, we woke up one day and we're like, what the hell happened?
Where did it go? Why didn't our nest egg grow?
And what's really funny is we joke about that, but the more and more people we talk to, especially in dentistry. Now, dentistry is one of those unique professions that, dentists are very capable of making a fair amount of money in their careers, and they continue to do so. It's one you can move and still make money. So you always have a job, you always have the potential to create. But it's those people that somehow have let loose the strings to somebody else. And just like we were taught, and that teaching is so old school now that we kind of sat back and wondered one day, where's the money? And it was time to take advantage of things on our own, and that's why we're here. So,
yeah. So we're going to talk some post-election stuff and potential things that can go down, and what we've been hearing from. We talked about gleaning information from our experts. So there's actually a webinar coming up this week from our mentor on some of this. So
what is that, Thursday?
Yep, I think so.
I know. I think I'm on a plane.
Well, no, it's tomorrow.
Is it? Well, good. I can maybe make that.
I don't think I can make it.
I don't know.
I got wine stuff to do.
I hate that you have to drink wine.
I have to taste wine and explain it to people.
Let me ask you this: when you're tasting your wine, do you spit it? You spit it out, or you just drink it?
Well, it depends where I am, Matt.
If you're in your living room,
if I'm in your living room, I spit it out.
That's great.
But normally, I
always wondered where the hell the stain came from behind the chair.
Now we know. Dogs lick it up. Don't worry.
Blaine sits there. Blaine sits there. It's fine. Okay. All right. Well, I'll remember that this year. You're looking out for that. Hey, so let's talk about a couple of things, because I really think there's so much to go into, Blaine. I went in and read a bunch of articles. You read a few articles as well. There's the talk that's all over the news. There's the talk that came with the campaigns. Each of the candidates campaigned on different philosophies and different things that was attractive to their constituents. Well, I never quite understood what the opposing side was presenting. I never got it. I listened for it. I just never got it because I felt like it was a lie, number one. And we talked about after the one debate, I think we were on here after the first debate. I was like, that was just full of lies, which is crazy. But anyway, yeah, imagine that. It's politics. So, I think the first thing you think about is what's going to happen with things like mortgage rates and inflation. Automatically we think Trump takes office, and it's like as soon as he puts his hand on the Bible, boom, stuff changes, right? Well, we all know that's not how it really works. So be prepared that there is going to be a little bit of time and lapse before things do change, but also be prepared that there is going to be change, and there is going to be effective change as immediate as he can make it. I can assure you, to reverse any of the plans that were put in place that were contrary to what he wanted to put in place 8 years ago. So,
yeah. Number one thing that I almost everybody's saying, the 2017 Tax Reduction Act that came along and helped, but reduced pretty much everybody's taxes, whether you make a lot or a little bit of money. That was set to expire in 2025. And he has, I don't remember. I think it's early springish, but he said repeatedly he'd like to extend that. And so that's going to continue what some people consider our tax breaks. And so that's, that's kind of fun. So our tax bracket is not going to go up. And so I'm pretty sure that with both sides of the House and the Senate being Republican, I think they'll be able to extend that pretty easily and it's pretty straightforward. So everybody kind of knows what that's about. Unlike most laws, there's no 80, this has been going on for almost 8 years. So everything that's in there is known and you just extend it. I don't think they're adding anything to it.
Right.
So
one of the things was that they're and on that point is they were doubling the standard deduction and capping the state and local tax deductions. So that's really beneficial across the board. That's really a middle income tax break for everybody. Because as this happens, one of the things in the election that was going on is Trump's going to only give tax breaks to the wealthy, and then the middle income are going to suffer. Well, I mean, Trump then made that very clear that his goal is for the middle income earners in the United States to receive a lot of tax breaks. They're the ones that need the reprieve. They're the ones that need the most help of anybody. They're the ones that pay all the tax in the world, right? If you're in multifamily whatsoever, you've heard us talk about the advantages of multifamily, and you've been to some different presentations, you've read whatever, Robert Kiyosaki and whatnot. So you understand that those tax breaks are written in the tax code. They're not just frivolous.
yeah.
Trump just didn't all of a sudden go, okay, so tomorrow I'm going to wake up and this is what I'm going to give my friends. No, it's actually in the tax code, and it's there for anybody that makes a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And you just got to know how to use the system.
Right. Yep.
Right. But what it does is it leaves the middle income with lower tax rates, which is great, and more money to put into things like a home. Because, what we saw in probably the last 2 years, I'd say really the last 2 years, it's been extremely difficult to buy a house, maybe 2 to 3, right? It's been hard to buy a home. There's been no homes available because of that. So what's gone up is apartment increase, building on apartment complexes, upfitting and new apartments, because if you can't buy a home, where are you going to live? Well, it just so happens we've talked about this 2 or 3 times in the past our podcasts where the government gives tax breaks for those that are going to build multifamily real estate apartment complexes and places for people to live. They'll give you tax breaks to do that. Tax advantages across the way, all different forms and fashions. But regardless of the fact is very simply that the middle income people are going to have lower tax rates, which gives them the affordability to buy a house, buy a better apartment, whatever the case. That's number one. That's written in that 2017 thing that he put out before. The other thing that he put out that's really, really big, Blaine, is the bonus depreciation. We've talked about that before. So tell everybody what the bonus depreciation is.
Well, if you go in and you buy a apartment complex, say at $100,000, let's say I'm just going to go buy it outright, just to make this example simple. I put $100,000 and I buy a fourplex or whatever it is, and so then when on my taxes I can, and then I say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna spend 50 grand on this to upgrade it, and you do that in the year. You can take that 50 grand and depreciate it off your income. So if your income, say, is $200,000 for that year, and you're like, hey, I spent 50,000 on this apartment, and there's a few other things that fall into that. I can write off $70,000 of my income. So then all of a sudden your taxable income, instead of being 200,000, is 130. And that's a substantial difference. And so you can save a huge amount of taxes by investing. And that's the whole point of those tax codes, is investing in places for people to live and helping people find a nice place to live, whether it's building, whether it's renovating, or just managing some sort of housing complex. The government says, we need housing for people. We're going to give you an advantage. And so people take advantage of that. And then the other people who don't understand that situation are like, those rich bastards aren't paying taxes. They're cheating the system. No, it's not. We're not cheating the system. Yeah. We just understand the rules, and we're playing a different rules that they just don't know about and they don't understand.
So here's the thing that it took us a little bit of time to learn with bonus depreciation. It did for me, at least, Blaine. I'll speak for myself. You can speak for you, but the bonus depreciation.
You always speak for me anyway. So what's
I do
the difference
not.
here?
I always give you the mic. I always give you the mic.
True. Okay.
I might tee it up for you. But I give you the mic. So, but one of the things you got to remember is that bonus depreciation allows apartment investors and developers those advantages, right? They're specifically written for developers and investors in apartment complexes, multifamily real
Commercial
estate,
as well. And
commercial, right?
Yep.
Commercial. So it's not just for anybody. And I didn't understand that at first. I was like, wait a minute. If we invest in this property, Blaine, we got to take advantage of the bonus depreciation because we're going to get to write off that first year of the money that we put in. We get to write the whole thing off. Well, that's not really the case. So you got to remember bonus depreciation allows for apartment investors and developers to deduct more depreciation in that first year of ownership than any of the other years. Whereas before you had to drag your depreciation costs out, I think it was 7 years, right? 5 to 7 years or something like that.
It depends
Now,
on the property.
right now you get to take the very first year and deduct the majority of what you're putting in, not all of it, the majority of it. That percentage is not exact, but that incentivizes new development. And that's the whole point. Like you said, if we can develop new complexes, we can develop more increased housing, more rental units, that gives people more places to live. So this is Trump's really, really big thing about, you hear somebody like a Grant Cardone where, I love the story that he tells. He bought two helicopters and he bought them at the same time. And after he bought them, he did bonus depreciation on both helicopters, and then he sold one. And after he sold one, he took that money and reinvested it, and he took the bonus depreciation on the other and kept it. So at one point he had two helicopters. He says, why the heck do I need two helicopters? I don't, but I got to take the bonus depreciation that first year of writing off nearly the entire amount of both helicopters, so I could take and invest it in my other properties. And that was a huge thing for me. I was like, this is why people have planes. This is why, what you ever wonder why there's some people in your life, you see them, you know them, and you're like, God, they have a plane? What do they do? A lot of these people that are investing in real estate have planes because they're traveling to their properties. As long as you have the money to cover the gas and the insurance, then rock on, because what a great way to travel. Are you kidding me? I want a plane. I do. Ann doesn't want a plane. It's not important to her, but it is for me. I'd love to get on a plane and just go down and check on my property and fly back. Go have dinner and fly back. Are you kidding me? We could write that off. Plane, can't we?
Yep.
But those are
business expense.
Those are great things that come along with apartment investing, which is one of the key things of how we got involved, was listening to somebody like a Tom Wheelwright talk about the tax breaks and incentives that are written in the code, just like this bonus depreciation. So, but don't be fooled. If you invest in a property, it's not like you're going to get bonus depreciation just because you use the magic word with the IRS. It doesn't work like that. But definitely look into it. We've done an episode or two on bonus depreciation. We'll probably do another one when we learn a little bit more about what Trump's actually going to enact, and we'll take a little time and give better examples of that. But just stay tuned, because remember those words, bonus depreciation.
Well, and what's interesting about this is that the House and Senate were supposed to vote on whether that was going to be extended. Like you said, there's a different percentage that was dropping down every year, and the House and Senate were supposed to vote on it, and I think the Senate passed it, and the House never got around to it, and it expired. Right. So, and that was this spring. So that was like, oh dang, but I'm guessing that'll come back up, and we'll see if Trump and his administration have the desire to put that back in place.
And I don't see personally how they can't, because Trump's an investor, he's a developer, and if you took a poll of all the Senate people, all the House people, all the politicians, I guarantee you they're investors and developers as well. So,
except for Tim Walz, he wasn't.
Except for Tim Walz, that's right.
I heard that he'd never done anything in real estate ever.
No, but tampons. It's whatever it is. I don't know. I never quite got that one either, but so I just laughed at it, whatever it was. But yeah, so there's a lot happening there, but that's really exciting. I know for us, Blaine, because we've got all these apartment complexes we've invested in, and we've got future projects that are coming into play. I'm already counting on those things, trying to figure out how does that bonus depreciation figure into my investment potential to go to the next property. So it's already in the works. Once you kind of reach that status of real estate professional status, you start thinking differently about your investments and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Yep.
What's some other stuff that you think?
Well, there's a couple things on the flip side that may or may not so change,
Yeah.
and I think this is a little more unknown. But what are interest rates going to do? Now, Trump's been a huge proponent for talking about interest rates need to come down again to help stimulate the ability for people to buy homes, because
Yeah.
it's always been the American dream is to be a homeowner, and the difference between renting a place and buying a place has skyrocketed since COVID. It's 4 or 5 times what it ever was before. It's
Yeah.
so with the interest rates being higher, it's so much harder to purchase a home. So, um, he is a big proponent to trying to get interest rates to drop and pressure the Federal Reserve, to do that. The Federal Reserve says we don't listen to what the president has to say. He has nothing to do with us. But he's still the president, right? I mean,
Right.
so he's going to have some influence. So he's trying to get them to drop. And so this is kind of interesting, Matt. So what I've heard and what I've read over the last week or two is that there's some people are like, in the Feds meet, I think this Thursday here in a couple of days, to
Yeah.
talk to their next meeting. So they'll let us know what they're going to do, if they're going to keep interest rates the same or drop them again. And I've heard some people go, you know what? Trump's in office. They're coming down. Done deal.
Yeah.
And he's gonna influence them and say, hey, you know what? Let's do this. And they're going to be hesitant, or maybe, or whatever, but they'll drop. Okay, so I've heard that. Now I've also heard the opposite, which is
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. Like
I've
screw
also
them.
heard I've also heard that they're worried about inflation jumping back up for a few reasons we'll talk about in a little bit. But they're worried about inflation jumping up, and so they're like, no, we don't want to raise interest rates, because the reason we raise them in the first place is to help control inflation. And so if they're worried about inflation going up, they're like, we're not going to drop them, probably not going to raise them, but they'd probably
Right.
stay the same. So
Right.
I just found that interesting, that it was two totally different perspectives on what interest rates are going to do. And I think you can flip a coin. Maybe I'd ask my buddy who was looking at all the betting sites during the election,
Yeah.
and he
He
knew
might
who
have a
was
better
going to win.
answer out.
He
Yeah.
might have an idea of what the bets are across the country and who's putting money on it, quarter point drop or whatever. Um, so there's a couple of reasons why some people are concerned about inflation, and it's legit. I don't know. It's as legit as I can make sense to me. It may or may not happen, but one of them is the tariffs. In Trump's talked about putting tariffs on things, right? So
China.
if you tax China, and mostly China, but his whole point is to try and get jobs stimulated back in the United States, right? So
Yeah.
if you tax stuff overseas, then it's going to be harder to buy that stuff. People are going to buy American products, American goods. That means America is going to have to increase our workforce in order to build the stuff that our country needs. And so that's kind of the point. But American goods typically are more expensive, right? And if you get rid of a bunch of supply, then from other countries, then you only have what the United States is producing. Well, that increases the price, right? Demand goes up, price goes up. Supply and demand right there. So that's a potential issue. And again, Trump talked a lot about the tariffs and what he wants to do with that. I'm not sure how that'll all roll.
Well, remember back in the 40s and 50s, generationally, the United States was a melting pot from all over the place, right? But we were strong. Remember the symbol as the men went off to war was the women with bandanas, and they're flexing their muscles because they were involved in the steel factories and they were involved in building America. It's no different. We're now at a stage where the United States is such a conglomerate of people. And the thing that is crazy between the two parties that fight so much is Trump's main message is to make America great again. And make America great again means build it back to the time when people cared about it and we built amazing things. And we've lost track of that because we build amazing things, but we do it over in China or in Indonesia or somewhere else because it's cheaper, right? So Trump's come in and said, hey, we're going to put tariffs on those countries and they're importing. So we are going to stick to the guns about making things the United States, keep America strong, keep America growing. The issue that we're going to see is that America doesn't have those things in place right now because when Trump gets in office, we're still buying from China. So we still have these things that we need to pick up the pace on. So those tariffs may be problematic for us. That may be something that we got to take into consideration. I took some notes and I was reading some stuff, and basically some of the things like home materials, building materials, stuff that you don't really think about. Not all the wood that we use to stick build stuff in America comes from America. You'd be surprised. Some of it comes from Canada. Some of it comes from overseas. The plastics, the roofing, the plastics that go under the roofing, all the different things, the insulation. Where's that all made? It's made in places other than the United States. So these things, even though the tariffs are going to be placed on them, is potentially going to make the cost of those materials go up. It's also going to make the cost to build apartment complexes, houses, value-added type stuff go up, which also increases the cost to buy those things to go up. So it's kind of counterintuitive to the plan to give more housing and more potential for people to grow with the economy because it's going to hurt us. Now, having said that, what I was reading is this really has to do with foreign investments and the affordability of us being able to build. And obviously China's the main thing because everywhere I read it was China this and China that. But as the interest rates go down, the inflation interest rates are going to come down. The inflation for the past 2 years still leaves home buying at an all-time high and out of reach for most Americans, even as it goes down. And so what they're having to do is they're having to do what's called piggyback loans. So remember, you had Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the bank crash, right? That happened because they were lending money like crazy. Remember that? What year was that? 2018, 8?
Yeah, 2008 was a big.
I think it was 8 was a big crash. So they realized they're lending money like crazy, but there's people that couldn't pay them back. So what ended up happening is a huge giant crash, right? So now they're realizing that they can't just do these loans singly. So they're doing what are called piggyback loans. And that's where you've got your FHFA are doing the Fannie Mae and the Freddie Mac, but they're combining those with other loans on top of them, like what did I read? FIFA is piggybacked, which gives them a higher rate of interest. So the two loans, the only way you're going to qualify is to bring those two loans together to be able to purchase that property. But that also brings it an all-time high at 6.8% plus the other one that you're piggybacking leaves it at an all-time percentage of 21% overall. So that's insane, right? So the affordability is the really big thing. There's going to be a gap somewhere in the middle of this when we first implement it because it's going to take us time to build again. And don't give up because the United States is going to come back from this completely, and we will build all the things that you're going to need. I don't know how fast you're going to make it, but I think you're going to see places like Texas that we've seen, Blaine, that has been booming for years. Texas is going to go crazy. I think you're going to see Florida go crazy again. I think you're going to see the South, like in South Carolina here. I think people are going to be moving and building here. So any place where you can get tax advantage is where people are going to be moving. Those companies that are now overseas are going to come back to the United States because they're going to be given tax advantages to do that, which is going to increase jobs, which is going to increase money, which is going to decrease the inflation. All of this stuff is beneficial for us as United States citizens, for sure. There's just going to take time to get there. And that is something that I know is maybe a little disheartening to read at first because I read it in several places. And I had to really sit down and think about that because I really thought it would turn right away. But it makes sense because we've been laying low for so long. We've got so much money overseas because why would the companies stay in the United States and get hammered on taxes? That's how the last administration, they pounded you for doing business in your own country, but yet they gave advantages to people from other countries to do that. That's foolishness. So that's one of the things that Trump is absolutely anti. And he is 100% build back America the right way, make America great again. So MAGA for sure. MAGA, MAGA,
Yes,
MAGA.
make apartments great again.
Make apartments great. You got
Yes,
that right.
that's our MAGA chant. So,
Are you chanting that?
Sure.
I got you.
Why not? I'm by myself. No one can hear.
That's good. That's good.
It's like when a tree falls in a forest, nobody's around. Does it make a sound?
Does it?
I don't know.
Good question. Good question.
Quantum
Ponder
physics,
that. Ponder that for
quantum mechanics. Yeah. So the other big issue that can factor into this is immigration. And so,
yeah.
And there's a lot going on with that, obviously.
Because we're getting rid of everyone, right? We're getting rid of everyone.
Yeah. I don't know. Hard to tell, mass deportation, he mentioned a few times. That probably isn't a great idea to just kick everybody out. I mean, I think immigration is kind of something that is definitely needed in the United States. Because did you know, I think I read the other day, the birth rate is 1.5, I believe, per couple. So that means every couple's having 1.5 kids in the United States right now. So how does that do? How does that last? How does your population last when you're having 1.5 children to replace the 2 that had them? Yeah, it doesn't work so well. And so, and I know Elon Musk has been talking a lot about population collapse and how it could be the problem with the human race. So, but the United States, the United States population is declining if you take immigration out of it, and that doesn't work so well. We talked about bringing these jobs back, right, and doing stuff, and well, you got to have the workforce, and so, and there's a lot of workforce that comes from Mexico. There's a lot of amazing workers that come up and do, whether it's seasonal or construction or whatever. I mean, those guys work their ass off, and they're pretty amazing.
Yeah, big time.
And so there's got to be just a way of saying, hey, we just can't have millions of people running across here just going nowhere. You got to be able to go, okay, let's do this. There's got to be a way to do it the right way. You got to come in and whatever, go through a process, and and get them so they're legal. I mean, and then you got this great workforce, a lot of that. I mean, and even people, maybe you're talking, maybe it's not just workers, it's like people from India who want to come be engineers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know a lot of engineers in my hometown, and they come over from India, and some are on a temporary leave and some aren't, and it's just like, if you can get the workforce here on all levels to help provide for these building this stuff back, it's gonna be great. And if Trump, I think it would be idiotic to just fricking kick everybody out. And I mean, what do you think that's gonna do to employees' wages? I mean, there's gonna be high demand for construction work. Oh, they're gonna ask for more money, right? So there goes the construction costs higher again. So that's another potential inflation issue that is being thrown out there. But
I think, one of the things I read that was interesting on immigration was how Trump was talking about he's going to put a ban on mortgages for undocumented immigrants. And I started thinking, how does an undocumented immigrant get a mortgage? Like, it's counterintuitive. I don't understand that, but I guess that's happening.
What kind of information I have to show to get a bank loan or to talk to the bank? I mean,
are you kidding me?
And my tax returns and 4 forms of ID, and I mean, all that stuff. And it's like, how would you get a mortgage if you don't have an ID? I don't understand.
We're closing on this piece of property that we are in the middle of closing on and purchased. And it's funny because they asked me for the information. Oh, this is just on this is the new building and the equipment loan. This isn't even on the house. So this is the equipment loan for the extension off the office, right? So we're doubling the practice size. We're adding about 5,000 square feet. So the building's existing 6,000. I think we're adding 52 or something like that. It's kind of crazy, but so we're taking out a loan to do the equipment, which you can imagine, as each room that you're adding is, they say to think about 25,000 per room. That's a lie. That's just
no way.
That's a flat out lie. So anyway, the lady, she calls to finalize the information. I gave her the bank routing number and my account number. And she called back to the office and she says, there's something wrong. He only gave me 4 digits for his account number, and that can't be right. And I'm like, Bitch, that's what I gave you. It's right. Don't be questioning me. We're one of the very first people at the bank. Our account number is four digits. Don't give me shit about that. But so she stopped the loan process in order to find out if my account number was correct. And I'm like, that's what I wrote down. That's because that's what the number is. But I laugh because hell, if Ann and I go on vacation, the bank calls us and asks, are we coming back? So, and if we're going out of the country. So it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. But what you're talking about, though, in regards to the immigrants and the mortgages, I don't know how you get an undocumented immigrant a mortgage.
Yeah, I don't.
But this is apparently happening, and it's pretty prevalent. So Trump is going to put a stop to that. And what you're talking about, Blaine, is basically changing the what was it? The barriers, right? The regulations and reprogramming to get incentives to get people that are not United citizens out, but yet we have to increase the population density in certain areas. And that's why. So in order for Trump to do that, he's going to have to dangle the carrot in front of some of these people, right? It's going to be like, okay, we can get these people out, but I'm going to give you more money for the infrastructure, and we're going to build the roads quicker. And he's going to have to do some things like that to get the state and the Fed to come in and make some serious changes that they're going to drag their feet on otherwise. But you're absolutely right. Who's going to pick in the fields? Who's going to frame the houses? I mean, I'm in awe watching these guys work. They framed my office in. I mean, you should see these guys, man. They bust their ass. And I watch the documentary stuff on the people that are out there picking our vegetables and stuff. That's not just machines that are doing it, and they're making a living. They're making nothing. Should they be allowed to live in the U.S.? Man, I'll tell you what. If you bust your ass for the American people, I think you should be allowed to become a citizen. I think you should be allowed to do that. Now, these people that are coming across the border just hauling butt illegally so they can come in and terrorize and do stuff like that, those are the people we need out. Those are the people we absolutely need out. The ones that are causing problems. How do you identify those people, though, is the question. I think you have to go into their workforce and into their logs and find out how long they've been here, how long have they worked, that kind of thing. I think those are the things that we need to look at and somehow change the jurisdictions and the zoning so that we can bring the density of population to the areas we need, but we're not being harmed by it. That's the key.
Yeah.
So
heard a kind of a good story on that today. A friend of mine was at a wedding down in Colorado or Arizona, I think, and he said he was talking to some of the workers there, and there's a whole crew from Venezuela.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, these people are like, thank you so much, and these workers are thank you so much for having your wedding here and letting us help you and serve you. And what he goes, we have nothing, we have no way of, and we have no money or anything down there, and they're across on work permits and stuff like that, and they were so grateful that they're able to help out. And this guy, my friend, he's been an engineer for years. He's retired. And he's very well off, and he was just like, these people are so amazing. These are the kind of people we need. I mean, again, you stop any kind of immigration, you stop stuff like that from happening, man, you're not only hurting the United States, but there's a lot of people that are really, really good people out there that want to just come help to make a few bucks. And compared to us, they're making very little, but for their families, it's insanely amount of money. So that was pretty cool hearing that.
And I guess the question that you asked is, how do they do that? How do we do that for the United States? How do we protect people like that and still don't let the bad apples in that cause the problems?
I think maybe they should all see you, and you should say, hey, are you a good apple or are you a bad apple?
In,
out.
I just touch them. I won't even. I just look at them. You're out. You're in. I like your eyes. You got soft eyes.
That's the problem. I mean, we have all these great ideas, right? But to put something like that into action is difficult and takes a lot of work. So
crazy. But I think the gist of tonight is really to give you some ideas on the policies that we've heard about or that you've read about, the repercussions that come along with them and what to expect. I think overall, what we're reading is that the housing market is going to pick up. We're reading that multifamily real estate is going to once again thrive. There's going to be probably a little bit of a lull in that fact. We're probably going to see building new homes still not on the rise like they were 2 years ago when they were going gangbusters. Still going to be a little bit slow in that process, but they're still going to be able to make affordability for first-time home buyers to still live the American dream somehow. And I think that's still in the works. But the gist from everything I read was in the next 5 years, 5 to 6 years, be prepared for some major changes in multifamily real estate and your investment potential that is all going to be positive. That's what everything that I read was pay attention because the market's changing and it's going to be a great 4 to 6 years coming up. So that's exciting for somebody like me and Blaine because we just get to continue to do this stuff and share the information and hopefully drag some people along with us. And hopefully we're going to get some investments here pretty quick. So yeah,
working on some.
Yeah,
I got a few again. I got a few, and I've been working on some for here in Iowa again. There's been several that come across my plate, and man, I get to the point where it's like, well, this could be good, and then I dig a little deeper, and it's like, nope, not happening.
So I told everybody I'd give some details, but I am opening the fund for the professional part, the commercial property, and the final paperwork is being done this week. So that fund is about to open. I'll let you know what the minimum investment is, and I do know that we are offering 15% per annum. So we want to collect some investors and who are gonna win with us, and hopefully when we just continue down the road, they just keep winning. So that's the idea. So if you're interested, obviously shoot us a DM, shoot us something here, send us your questions. And as always, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell the people you don't like. Happy trails. Come watch us, come listen to us on all the channels that you possibly can. Right, Blaine?
You got it. We're all over.
That's right, wherever. And as we always say, who's got your money?
Because
you know what? I'm trying to find it, and so is Blaine. So everybody, sayonara, as they say in Mexico, and we'll talk to you soon.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think.